Hi, gang. It's Patrick.
And Ryan.
Coming up on today's episode, we Santa's Sleigh, a review of the 1994 Disney holiday movie, The Santa Claus. As always, we discuss the latest Disney news, and we close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Ryan, sugar Christmas cookie, Tucker.
Ooh, I love that. I shimmied when you said that. Patrick, I really can't stay Kazuki.
Oh, I love that. That song, I'm torn on it because it's sort of controversial song, isn't it? A holiday song.
As you are a controversial person. No, I'm just kidding.
As I am. Many have said that, and a few have been wrong as well.
You know, all press is good press.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. Keep me in the spotlight, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The lyrics of that song, have you really dissected them before? It's a little, should we make a woman stay and put something in her drink? I don't know.
Yeah, I do agree with that. It has not aged well.
It's not aged well.
But luckily you have.
Wow, you're coming for me tonight, apparently.
I'm sorry. I don't know what's in me tonight. I'm so spicy.
I'm into it. You're a spice cookie then instead
I'm
tonight.
A spice cookie. I'm a little ginger snap.
Amazing. Okay, so we have to get right into mental health checks, Ryan, because it's the season for mental health checks. I mean, people have some drama in their lives during the holidays. It's a real thing. How are you? How are you doing?
You know what? I'm doing okay. I'm going to be real.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a reformed Grinch. Okay. So Christmas time, the holiday time is historically not been for me for a lot of different reasons. And I, for the past 3 years, have been determined to turn that around for myself. But I would not say that my halls are decked. I would also say that, my bells aren't particularly silver, but I am trying. I am trying so hard. And I do think once the week of Christmas actually gets here, I think, and once I start watching a couple of, Charlie Brown Christmas stuff like that, then I'll be into it. But it's just, I'm going to be real. And for our listeners, if Christmas is a hard time for you as well, you are not alone. There's no shame in not liking Christmas. And it is okay. And I just want you to know that. Patrick, how are you doing?
Support everything you just said. 100% that. Yeah. And to be clear, there's many other things to celebrate. You don't have to celebrate a holiday at all if you don't want to this time 100%. Of year. It's all around you. But you don't have to participate. You participate as necessary. Mm-hmm. With or without silver bells in hand. I don't know. That was a weird thing to say. I feel good about it, though.
We're keeping it.
We're going to work with it. I'm good. Thank you for asking. I totally understand what you're saying. This year, usually I'm someone who starts decorating around before Thanksgiving even starts for the holidays, because I just love the look of the holidays. And this year I waited and procrastinated a little bit, and it didn't put everything out. I don't know. I'm just not fully invested yet. So I'm with you on this. Yeah. And you know what? That is okay.
It's okay. I'm very interested to hear that you were saying before we started recording that you're expecting not a white Christmas in Minnesota. When was the last time that you had a white Christmas?
I feel like every year, maybe I'm misremembering, but almost every year there's some snow on the ground. And right now it's just slush, basically. There was snow and then it got warm and it rained. And now it's real gross here right now. Oh, no. It's not aesthetically pleasing. So what can you do? Global warming is real.
So funny that you say that, because global warming, very real, right? Definitely. But I have never had a white Christmas before, just growing up where I grew up.
Fair.
It usually doesn't snow where I grew up probably until February or March randomly. And you only get one and then it's over, right? And so the thought of a white Christmas sounds so dreamy.
It is lovely. Yeah, it's nice when it happens. It just makes it just that much more festive, I suppose. I've always thought about that. It's so weird when you see, like, most holiday movies, there's snow involved in them, but, like, half the country doesn't have snow in their state.
On Christmas. It's true.
Yeah, it's so weird to me to think about, because I've only had snow because I've been in Minnesota my entire life, and so that perspective of, like, if you're in Texas and you're watching It's a Wonderful Life, whatever, like, you don't know that. Like, that's not something that you can necessarily relate to. So I always wonder how people watch those movies and get into the holiday spirit if they don't have snow around them. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's really true. Yeah, in Florida, it's been like in the low 70s pretty much all week, which is absolutely beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I've been really enjoying the weather the past couple of weeks, but it's definitely not giving Christmas. It's giving more, it's giving more spring break. And so I don't really, it's just been really interesting to try to be in the Christmas spirit when you're surrounded by palm trees and honestly,
I get it.
People are still at the pool,
Yeah, totally. I totally get it. It's like the world has collectively decided that Christmas and the holidays equals snow. And yet, not all of the world, less than half the world, I think, probably has snow. It's so very strange to me. All right. Well, speaking of the holidays, Ryan, let's move right along. We have a lot of Tweedles to celebrate this week.
Let's celebrate them.
Everybody had some celebrations. Do you want to kick us off?
Break good times, come on. Yeah, absolutely. So Danny Mac, the DJ, is celebrating surviving working retail over Christmas. You guys always brighten my commute to work. Danny, shout out to you as a fellow retail vet. I remember there was one year that I worked both Black Friday and Christmas Eve in one year, and it'd be vicious out there. So Danny, I hope you have a helmet. I hope that you potentially have pepper spray if need be. And good luck to you. You're going to do great.
You're going to do amazing. And everyone else out there, be kind. Be kind to people in retail all the time, but especially during the holidays. It is rough out there.
100%. Let's park it there for a second. Everybody go out of your way to be kind to somebody in the service industry. Pick a server to tip 25-30% to, or be extra nice to somebody. But pay it forward because people get so janky during this time of the year.
I love it. This is your homework going forward, everybody. Be kind. All right, moving on. We have at Passion for Park Drinks. I love that name. Passion for Park Drinks. Celebrating 5 workdays left in the year. You better. Well done.
You better, Passion.
Right? Yeah. I want to know what you do for work. I'm assuming teacher if you have the rest of the year off in 5 days, but you never know. You never know.
It's funny that you say that. My friends, Josh and Danny, they strategically save up all of their PTO for the end of the year, and they always take off the last 2 weeks of the year. Ooh. And they were telling me that they started doing this a couple years ago. And I was like, honestly, that's genius, because to get me to answer an email right now is like pulling teeth. So maybe Passion for Park Drinks has the same kind of strategic planning going on. I'd be interested to see how many people do this.
Yeah, I would love to know that. Let us know if you do this, if you have the same vacation plans of just taking the rest of the year off. We should all, I always feel this way, we should all just get, after Thanksgiving, everyone's done for the year.
Everybody's done.
Back up in January.
100%. I completely agree with that. Nobody needs to do anything.
No.
They always say, please advise. Nobody needs to be advised after Thanksgiving.
Nothing is that important anymore until the end of the year.
At KDevo11, my dear friend Kevin, winter concert done for my students in 1 week till winter break. Congratulations, Kevin. Shout out to Kevin and Brian both. Super exciting things are going on for them right now. And I am going to be seeing them next month in January, and I'm super excited.
Me too. I think I know what you're talking about, but it is not our story to reveal, but very excited for them nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, congratulations to both of you. Moving on, we have at Disney Lover 1991 celebrating another week in my head, but seeking a therapist to help keep me out. Oh, listen. Absolutely seek a therapist, but here's my advice to you. Stay in your head. Be there. Be present in your head, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, I like that. Is that a lot of the times we try to convince ourselves that our emotions aren't valid. Your emotions are valid, Disney Lover 91 or 1991.
That's right. That's right. And you are not the problem, my friend. Just to be very clear, you're not your own problem. So yes,
come on,
seek out
Patrick.
a therapist. I'm full of wisdom.
I felt like
you.
I was just. Have you ever watched Iyanla Fix My Life? Like in the 2010s.
No.
It was like Oprah's friend Iyanla was
Oh, sure.
is a very like a self-motivating coach, and I just felt like I was watching an episode just now. So it's like,
Thank you. I'm the GDTD guru.
yeah. At Irving.Virgin, winter vacation in Hawaii. Irving, I'm so jealous. I hope you're having a great time. I hope that you're living your best White Lotus life at Aulani.
But I hope you're not the one who is going to die in the White Lotus there. So
Hopefully not.
just
no. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to put that into existence for you.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we have at Andy Heath Puppeteer celebrating went to see the Disney 100 exhibit, pure nostalgia and joy. I'm so jealous. I really want to see that.
So exciting, Andy. Also, Andy, I'm still in mourning that you were at Walt Disney World and we barely missed each other like ships in the night. I'm so sad.
I know. That's the goal. That's a 2024 goal, is to get a photo with Andy.
Yes, that's a goal. All right.
Yep.
Run.dive.jwr, 3 weeks to diving at Epcot.
I have questions.
I think dining at Epcot, maybe.
Oh, maybe. Well, I don't know, because Run Dive. Joe, maybe you are a diver. Yeah, and if so, where are you diving in Epcot? Are you diving in one of the big tanks? Because I think you can do that, can't you? Can't you scuba dive with this? I think so. I think it's a thing you can do.
That is so cool. Well, either way, we're super excited for you, and I can't wait to see you.
Yes, please let us know. Are you diving? If so, where? Or are you dining? If so, where? But I believe it's diving. We'll find out. More to come.
So you can swim with the manatees?
I don't know exactly where, but yeah, like in the big aquarium, I'm pretty sure you can buy a package where you get to go in with the scuba divers and maybe like feed the fish with them or something. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but yeah, I think it's super cool.
That is so cool. If I got the chance to swim with a manatee, I would cry. At Steveachu, being featured regularly on this segment of GDTV and laughing at it every time. Yes, Steveachu.
Come on, you're featured a chew this week as well.
Featured a chew, yeah.
Love it. Thank you for writing into us every week too. We love to hear from you. Speaking of loving to hear from people, at Jedi Trousers, one of our regulars, landed my first retainer with a client. You better. Congratulations.
You better work.
That's huge. Mm-hmm. Huge news.
We love a retainer. We love a retainer, and not in orthodontia form, but in client money form. Yeah, love that. At Sean Cruz, Sean, what a dreamboat. This weekend is our Gay Men's Chorus of LA Holiday Spectacular Performances. Congratulations, Sean. We're super excited for you.
Yes.
I feel like between Sean and Kale and JT, we just have so many talented singers in the GDTD family. I think that we need like a holiday special.
We might have to do one. I am with you 100% on that. Absolutely. It's going to be a GDTD candlelight processional next year.
Yes, absolutely. I can't wait to watch. December 2024 coming your way.
Into it. All right, moving on. We have at Scott in the Woods booking flights to Orlando for our 2024 Walt Disney World trip. Well, hopefully you're booking for the holiday time in 2024 so you can see us doing the candlelight processional.
There we go. Also, Scott, I really hope that you're getting to fly through Terminal C. Have you heard about Terminal C at MCO?
I haven't. What's going on?
It's brand new, but it's really like mainly only international flights that fly out of Terminal C, but it's brand spanking new. And apparently like all of the gift shops that involve Disney and Universal have outrageous LED screens that are curved going up walls. And there's a lot of special effects, which I wish that they would do that with the rest of MCO. But I will say, I just want a plaque of the carpet. Just like a single frame plaque of the carpet, but you can redo everything else.
Oh my God. MCO is stuck in 1983, 100%.
100%. At Katie W.
I think it's Katie Dubu, I think.
At Katie Dubu, a trip to Asia over the holidays, starting in Seoul. As a fan of K-pop Korean culture, we're super excited. That is so exciting. Katie, you have to report back on everything that you see. I recently watched the Blackpink documentary. Have you watched the Blackpink documentary on Netflix?
I haven't, no.
It's amazing. It gives you a crash course in K-pop and the work that people have to do to join a K-pop group, and it's fascinating. But anyways, back to Katie, not about me. Katie is then going to go to Osaka for a few and then Tokyo. The only booked plan that Katie has that she'll mention is Tokyo Disney Sea, my first international Disney park. Katie, please report back. I am specifically dying to ride Pirates.
Yes. Oh, it looks amazing. You're going to have the best time. Osaka is beautiful. Have so much fun and report back to us. Yes, definitely. Let's see. Moving on, we have at Ben.Teeves celebrating officially beginning the process of bringing my musical, The Place to Be, to Orlando Fringe. Congratulations. That's amazing.
That is huge. Also, Patrick, do you know anything about Orlando Fringe?
I don't. We have a Fringe festival here in Minnesota. It's one of the bigger ones, but I haven't heard about Orlando's yet.
Orlando Fringe is ginormous. I think the biggest Fringe festival in all of Florida.
Wow.
And there's a ton of opportunities for budding playwrights all throughout the state to really showcase their talent. And it's a huge deal here in Orlando, so I'm very excited for you, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. Do you need somebody to be in your show? Because I'm available.
All right. Patrick moving to Orlando 2024. I'm manifesting it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. And then lastly, at High B Donde, Matthew, another dreamboat. Completing the 5-year 5K in all Walt Disney World parks. A huge shout out to you, Matthew. I'm so sad that another person that I barely missed like ships in the night while he was here. But Matthew, I'm definitely going to hit you up whenever I am in Nashville in Q1 for drinks at Rosemary and Beauty Queen. It's happening.
I love that. Yeah, and congratulations. And thank you, by the way, for participating in the GDTD 5-year 5K. Your photos were amazing. Check out at Hybe Donde on Instagram with a really cool story of holding up the medal at the landmarks in all of the parks. So congratulations and thank you for participating. And thank you to all the Tweedles for sending us your joy this week.
Yeah, I love this. I always love our celebration segment because it is a great reminder that like the world gets tough sometimes, but that doesn't mean there's a phrase that I have recently coined as a I guess a manifestation phrase for myself recently, and it's called it says good omens are everywhere. And I feel like that we definitely see that through our listeners celebrating each week. So thank you for sharing.
We sure do. Yeah. And thank you for sharing all of the things too, like the whole gamut of mental health to family to actual celebrations. Like you're right. Good omens are everywhere in everything. So well done, everybody. And well said, Ryan. Well done to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on before the news. Ryan, are you ready once again for this week in Disney history?
Tell me, I'm ready for some history. I want to learn. Give it to me.
We're doing it. Okay, so 52 years ago, Ryan, on December 18th, 1971, the very first candlelight processional was held in Walt Disney World. It was held in the Magic Kingdom, of course, in front of Cinderella Castle, as none of the other parks were open yet. So it consisted of 1,200 singers, and the Christmas story was narrated by Rock Hudson, just to give you a feeling for how long ago this was. Rock Hudson was a narrator. The event, of course, moved to Epcot in 1994. Now, Ryan, a little trivia for you. Do you know who the first Epcot narrator was for the Candlelight Processional in 1994?
Okay, 1994. I'm going to guess that it was Jodie Benson for no good reason except for that Jodie Benson does everything, and I love her for it.
And she was available clearly in 1994. Yeah. Absolutely. It was not Jodie Benson, though I appreciate your guess. It was the one, the only Felicia Rashad. I know. Can you imagine?
I could not. If I ever saw Felicia Rashad in person, I don't know what I would do with myself.
I think I would freeze. I think I would actually be starstruck and would be way too afraid to talk to her because I'd be like, I'm just going to make a fool of myself if I actually go up and talk to her. But
can we talk about the most elegant woman known to mankind, Felicia Rashad?
I mean, she's incredible. She is just, she is a celebrity and a celebrated woman as well.
I love that, though. 1994, Felicia Rashad. Okay, and can we talk about Rock Hudson? I had no idea.
Rock Hudson.
I had no idea, but also what a dreamboat.
I mean, well done. And little did they know that a gay man was the very first person to do the candlelight processional in Walt Disney World. So well done. Well done, Disney.
But also, I feel like that's on brand.
Fair. Fair enough. All right, moving on to our last portion of This Week in Disney History, Ryan. Just 5 years ago, on December 19th, 2018, this Disney sequel was released in theaters 54 years after the original movie came out. Do you know what movie we're talking about?
I'll take Mary Poppins Returns for 100, Alex.
Ding, 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 ding. Well done. Mary Poppins Returns 5 years ago. That seems like, I don't know, it does not seem like it came out 5 years ago. It feels like it came out last year to me. I don't know what it is.
Is it because it hit you right directly in your emotions that you're still crying about it? Because I am.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of those movies that I want to watch over and over again, but I can't because I get really emotional when I watch it.
With the big reveal where you see Dick Van Dyke for the first time, I was
lost
a puddle.
Yeah, lost it. He has been a hero of mine since childhood, and just seeing him in a brand new movie was like, oh man, I get to experience like an original Dick Van Dyke, like everyone did back in the day when he was Dick Van Dyke. You know what I mean? Incredible. Well done. Well, that was This Week in Disney History, Ryan. What do you say we talk about this week in Nowstery? Is that a thing?
Let's do some Nowstery. I'm ready for some Nowstery.
Obsessed.
All right, Patrick, for our first story in Nowstery, we're headed over to the Human Rights Campaign and the annual Corporate Equality Index. So each year, the Human Rights Campaign rates companies on their policies and treatments of LGBTQIA plus employees. And the four central pillars used to measure a company are workplace protections, inclusive benefits, internal training and inclusive culture, and corporate social responsibility. And for the 15th consecutive year, which is huge, Disney has received a perfect score on the Human Rights Campaign's Corporate Equality Index for LGBTQIA plus workplace equality, earning them the Equity 100 Award. This year, Disney was recognized significantly for their inclusive workplace policies like their gender transition guidelines and support for transgender and non-binary employees. Huge congratulations to Disney. We need more and more. Let's see more and more of that across the board. A quote from Tanisha Agramonte, the Senior Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer at Disney. Creating workplaces where employees can be their authentic selves is one of our most important aims towards inclusion. As an avid and longstanding champion of the LGBTQIA plus communities, families, and fans, Disney continues to deepen our support through emblematic content, community advocacy, and inclusion in the workplace and beyond. If y'all would like to learn more about HRC and also the Corporate Equality Index, especially as an LGBTQIA plus person, and you might be in the job market and you want to look for a company that supports you, you want to head over to hrc.org. Patrick, you know that this is my bread and butter, and it makes me so excited that Disney is up there. I would also like to share that my company also received a perfect score on this Corporate Equality Index, and it is just really cool to have been a part of inclusion and equity work within what I do. So very exciting. And would love to see more of this headed forward into the new year.
Absolutely. Interestingly enough, GDTD received a 0 ranking. Just kidding. We treat ourselves horribly. No, this is really cool. I love seeing this. And I wanted to note, too, it's interesting to think about this. we talk a lot about like places and corporations and countries even of that it's about the people and not necessarily the leader. So if you take Bob Chapek into consideration, he was still the president of the company when Disney was getting perfect scores on the HRC Equality Index. So take that into consideration when you think about the company as a whole, that places and companies are not necessarily their leader. It's the people in the company that really earn them these scores, and it's not the leader who earns the score. So just some food for thought when you think about the leaders of the companies.
I love that. And also food for thought whenever we are considering, a lot of I know that there's a lot of calls to action to boycott lots of different things, or there may be certain judgments passed on certain states right now, specifically states that are closer to the Gulf of Mexico. And those states do not pass a judgment on them simply because of their leader.
Very much that. Very much that. Preach on it. All right, moving on, Ryan. We have some movie news to talk about. Two stories. One about the Golden Globe nominations that just came out. But first, before we get into that, I wanted to just briefly mention, for those of you who did not see it, in fact, you sent me this, I think, via Instagram, a post that for the first time in, ever, Disney and Pixar's Soul, Luca, and Turning Red are going to hit theaters this 2024. So Soul is going to be premiering, I guess you could say premiering, in theaters on January 12th. Turning Red will open on February 9th, and Luca will premiere on the big screen on March 22nd. Very exciting. I cannot wait to see these movies in all their glory in the theater.
I completely agree with you. I think that these three movies were some of Pixar's absolutely best, especially when it came to representation. And it made me so sad that they didn't get the flowers that they deserved via box office. So I'm very, very excited for them to return to the theater.
I am incredibly excited to see Soul. That movie was meant to be in the theaters, and I cannot wait to see it get its full due,
Yeah, for sure. Fun fact about Soul. Did you know that Soul was the very first animated movie that was a major feature film that had a black man as an animated character and the main character ever?
I didn't know that. I mean, sadly, I believe it and it makes sense, but I didn't know that that officially was true. Oh,
Yep. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. It's one of those things. I don't know there should be a word for this of it's incredible that it happened, but it's also ridiculous that it happened this late in the game.
100%.
All right. So, okay, we have some celebrations coming towards Disney. As I said, the Golden Globe nominations were revealed this past week, and the Walt Disney Company as a collective received 27 nominations for this year's Golden Globes. I'll briefly go through them. Searchlight Pictures' Poor Things earned 7 nominations, including Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. FX and Hulu's The Bear got 5 nominations, including Best Television Series, Musical, or Comedy. Hulu Originals' Only Murders in the Building earned 5 nominations, including Best Television Series, Musical, or Comedy. FX's Fargo got 3 nominations, including Best Television Series, Anthology Series, or a Motion Picture Made for Television. ABC's Abbott Elementary, which is incredible, received 2 nominations, including Best Television Musical or Comedy and Best Performance by an Actress in a Musical or Comedy for Kenita Brunson. Searchlight Pictures' All of Us Strangers got 1 nomination for Best Performance by an Actor in a Motion Picture Drama for Andrew Scott, the beautiful Andrew Scott. Hulu Originals' The Great was nominated for Best Performance by an Actress in a Television Series, Musical, or Comedy for Elle Fanning. And then moving on to the bigger Disney news in this one, Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was nominated for Cinematic and Box Office Achievement in a Motion Picture. I have no idea what that actually means, Box Office Achievement in a Motion Picture, but there we are. And then Pixar's Elemental was nominated for Best Motion Picture Animated, and Walt Disney Animation Studios' Wish was nominated for Best Motion Picture Animated. So very exciting, very exciting.
You know what's so interesting to me about all of these nominations is that there was a lot of talk, especially within the Star Wars fandom and the Marvel fandom, that like just general content hasn't been as good this year. But when you look at this list, these are bangers after bangers after bangers. This was a great year for Disney releases.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely that. Do you have a front runner for Best Motion Picture Animated? So do you think Elemental or Wish is going to, assuming one of them wins it, which one would you like to have win it?
That's a great question. It's hard to say because I loved both. I would say when it comes to just like the originality and the creativity, Elemental just like blew my mind on some of the things that they hit on. Like the way that they address like being first generation, the way that they address like emotion, expressing your emotions and being understood by other people. There was some this was a lasagna of a movie and I loved every minute of it. And
even just generally the animation of it blew me away as well. It was the things the things they were achieving with animation in Elemental were outstanding.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't think of how to conceptually come up with how creative they displayed like different parts of town and explained redlining, like it's crazy.
Yeah, it was really smart. But I will say, like, I just absolutely loved Wish as well. I don't think it's going to win, but I did love that movie. And yeah, they explored new territory there as well. So who knows? Who knows, Ryan?
Yeah, I think the score of Wish should definitely win all of the awards. The soundtrack was beautiful.
I'll say it again. We said it in our review of it in last week's episode, but the more I listen to it, the more I'm in love with all of the songs in Wish. I think they are incredible songs. So, everyone has the right to an opinion, but if you don't agree with me, then you are in fact wrong.
Yep. That's psychological safety for you.
And that's Nowstery.
And that's Nowstery. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Ryan, I have to say, I'm excited to review this movie with you for one very specific reason, in that I think this is the first time, and bless your heart, that we are reviewing a movie together that doesn't like involve racial inequalities necessarily.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I guess it is.
But I'm like, okay, this feels better to me.
Yeah, no, that is funny. I've never thought about that before, but it is true.
It kind of does.
Got a little break.
Yeah.
And I will say, because I pay attention to this regardless, this movie for 1994 did a surprisingly really great job with diversity, equity, and inclusion for its time.
Not too bad. I will say, though, however, like, here's a caveat. There was one scene that rubbed me the wrong way, and it was the very beginning of the movie. Oh, so for those of you who don't know, I mean, you should know because you listened to the very top of this. We're talking about the Santa Claus, 1994's The Santa Claus. But in the very first scene at the, like, a little end-of-year celebration or whatever for Tim Allen's character's company, when it was shown that he and his partner, who was a black woman, were receiving an award or doing some speech. He like fully cut her off and started talking over her.
Yes.
And I was like, and they didn't address it. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't like, maybe you shouldn't do that. It was just like, yeah, this is what we do here in corporate America in 1994. And I was like, no, thank you. That doesn't feel right to me. So
I would agree with that for sure. I didn't think about that. And the secretary comment, that was like very interesting at the holiday party. I was like, whoa.
Would we say that? Yeah, I guess we would in 1994 though,
Yeah. Something that was so interesting. We'll backtrack and like give
we're
you the
getting
plot,
right into it. Santa Claus, yeah.
But what was so funny to me was that I used to watch this movie all the time when I was little. So,
okay. Yeah.
And I this was my first time watching it as an adult, and I did not have any idea how adult this movie is. And
yeah,
I was shocked watching it. I was like, oh my gosh, there are so many like adult things, including like child custody battles in this movie that I was like, why did my parents let me watch this on a regular basis?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, single parent households, divorce, child therapy. Like, there was a lot of weird themes in this movie that I was like, I do not remember this, but okay, here we are. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a good place to jump off, I guess. So what is your sort of history with this movie? You mentioned that you did watch it a lot as a kid. Yeah.
Yes, I watched it a lot as a kid. So I don't say this to like shade anyone's age or anything like that, but I was 3 when this movie came out. And,
okay. I'd like to slap you, but
sorry. And this movie, we had it on VHS, and it was always in like my childhood yearly rotation of Christmas movies that I watched, alongside like Charlie Brown Christmas, the Rudolph Claymations, like things like that. And I remember watching it repeatedly, every Christmas until I was about maybe 10. But then I never touched it ever again. I never saw any of the sequels. I never saw the Santa Claus 2 or the Santa Claus 3. Okay. And so it was really interesting to come back to this in my 30s, because I realized watching this movie now as an adult that all of the adults in this movie, they're in their 30s as well. And it just, it shook me, I was like, wow, I am as old as like the adults in this movie now. But, it wasn't my favorite. But we'll talk about that later.
We will indeed. Yeah. So I didn't watch this movie a lot as when it came out, I guess. I was a little bit older than you, and by a little bit, I mean I was 13 years old, I believe, at the time. And so, that age is sort of like, I don't know, a Christmas movie about Santa Claus, I'm too old for this. You know what I mean? Like, just sullen teenager stuff. So it wasn't in my vernacular or rotation growing up. I was aware of it, and I did see it, but it wasn't one that I was obsessed with by any stretch of the imagination. So coming back to it now with fresh eyes on it, I have to say, and this is shocking to me and probably to many people, I didn't dislike it as much as I thought I was going to dislike it. Because I'm not
interesting.
Yeah, I'm not traditionally a Tim Allen fan necessarily. I mean, I celebrate his work in Toy Story, obviously, but that doesn't. He's not Tim Allen to me in Toy Story. He's Buzz. It doesn't. I can disassociate. But Tim Allen, just as a person, kind of rubs me. I don't know why, but just rubs me the wrong way. And so,
same.
I wish that he hadn't been in this movie, because I feel like if he hadn't, it would have upped the level of the movie for me personally so much more, because I actually kind of liked the story behind it. It's an interesting way to tell the story of Santa Claus and Christmas and family and what it means and what it doesn't mean and all that. So, and believing, that's a nice message. So I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting to think about, because you look at Tim Allen's body of work, and he was everywhere in this time, right?
Yes, yeah.
But I think if this movie were to be remade today, and we had like all of the same 90s actors that were like at their height, at the same age at this day, I don't think that Tim Allen would be picked.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's just not. Well, and interestingly, he wasn't their first choice for this movie.
Oh, tell me about that.
I believe it was written with Bill Murray in mind, I think, and maybe even Chevy Chase was approached for it as well. And both of them read the script and sort of passed on it. And it wasn't like what they wanted to do at the time, because they both already had holiday movies in their pocket, and so they didn't want to do another holiday movie that may be this recognizable, which I think is smart, makes sense to me. So yeah, interestingly, it was not supposed to go to Tim Allen. He was like 3rd or 4th on their list when he said yes, and he was saying yes, as you said, to everything during this time. So it makes sense that he was in it, but I agree with you in that he just wasn't quite the right fit for playing Santa Claus, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because it was interesting, because I understand that he was supposed to have like a redemption arc, right? But even after he became Santa, I still felt as though he was unlikable.
Yes.
And maybe he has more redemption arcs in Santa Claus 2 and Santa Claus 3, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, he just has this. I love that we're just going to spend the whole time talking about Tim Allen. There's just a thing about like a machismo thing about him that I just don't love. I'm not impressed by it, and it's not. It's like he's almost too afraid to be vulnerable, and that's like, well, that's what Santa Claus is, and so he's like trying to play Santa as like a macho dad, and it's like, that's not the vibe. I don't know. It doesn't hit right for me. But the rest of the movie I thought was pretty good. So anyway, so all that being said, let's go back to a brief history about the Santa Claus, and then we'll hear a brief plot synopsis from you, and we'll get into the cast and crew, and then talk more about what we thought about the movie. How does that sound?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so as we said, this was released in 1994, and at the time, it grossed $109 million worldwide, which is a pretty big success by any stretch. It did come in second place in the box office during its first week, its opening weekend, trailing behind Interview with the Vampire, right? What? That's wild to me.
Can we stop there for a second?
We can.
Why was Interview with the Vampire released in December?
Well, I think that they were both released during Thanksgiving time instead of
Thanksgiving time. Okay,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and so which is a weird. And Interview with the Vampire, I think, was in theaters for a very long time as well. So I don't know that they opened at the same time, but it was making tons and tons of money. Interview with the Vampire. I would love for us.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I would love for us to do a separate episode about how homoerotic Interview with the Vampire is for absolutely no reason. Like, it's so...
there's a reason.
There is a reason. It's a weird... That movie is a trip. But anyways, let's get back to the Santa Claus.
No, yeah, we'll have a very special episode of Gays Do the V, maybe.
Yes, I love that.
Love that for us. Okay, so, as we said, it came in second place, trailing behind Interview with the Vampire, strangely. It also led to 2 sequels and a Disney Plus original series, which started airing last year, I think, and it's being replayed now. It currently has a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty high, with a 66% audience score. So critics are liking it a lot more than the masses are liking it. But that being said, anything above a 50% usually on Rotten Tomatoes is a pretty good indication that it is a well-received movie and a well-watched movie.
Yeah, let's jump into the plot for a second.
Yeah.
So Scott Calvin is disgusted to learn that his ex-wife Laura and her husband Neil have tried and failed to break it easy to their 6-year-old son Charlie that Santa Claus isn't real. And on Christmas Eve, Scott reads The Night Before Christmas and then receives an unexpected visitor on his roof. And when Santa is startled by Scott calling out, he falls off the roof. He disappears, leaving only an 8-reindeer sleigh and a suit with instructions to put it on if he is involved in an accident, which dark. Scott does so, and then Scott is transported around town, dropping gifts through chimneys until he's taken to the North Pole and informed by a group who claim that they're elves that he is now Santa Claus. Bernard is a sleigh. Charlie is proud of Scott's new job, though he is convinced it was a dream. And then his hair starts turning white and his beard refuses to stay shaved, and he gains weight very inexplicably, and he has a sudden love of junk food. And now that he's accepted it, there's just one problem: how to keep it a secret from his disbelieving family.
Yes, indeed. That is the IMDb description of the movie, which is pretty, it's pretty much the plot. I have to say, when you said dark, I was like, the movie starts off with an accidental murder, which is so weird. A weird way to start a movie.
An accidental murder, and then we jump into a lot of jokes about divorce, and then we have the mom's very blunt bob haircut, and then we have Charlie being very disgruntled with the time that he spends with his dad, and then we just kind of overlook all of that, right? Like we just overlook the fact that like Charlie basically is sharing with his dad that like, you're being a bad dad to me, and then his dad doesn't care, and then he becomes Santa Claus.
Right. Which, he needed to become Santa Claus to teach himself a lesson. But it was weird. It was like very neglectful. And I was like, this is a weird way to start a movie, but here we are.
Can I say something?
Of course.
I'm going to say something that's brave.
Please.
There is not a likable person in this movie. Except for the jetpack elves.
The jetpack elves, yeah.
And the little sweet baby elf who was cooking the hot chocolate in the kitchen for 1,000 years.
She creeped me out, but she was delightful and adorable. But there was just something a little bit creepy about I don't know what it was. I don't know
Everybody
what it was.
else in this movie deserves coal in their stocking.
I mean, Charlie was bad, the main kid. I was like, okay, he's kind of adorable, and he had that cute little voice of his. So I was kind of on his side. But yeah, everybody was like in it for themselves in the character-wise.
Yeah,
right.
Everybody is in it for themselves, including Neil. I was like, Neil, what are you doing? Who are you, Neil? Like, how are you going to come up in this family
Right.
and then like be like, we're changing around Christmas traditions, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very blunt. It was kind of a well, here I'll put a pin in what I was about to say and get into the crew a little bit, because I think we'll start to understand this movie a little bit more when we talk about who created it.
Okay.
So it was directed by John Pasquin, who was more of a TV show director back then. So he did direct Tim Allen in many episodes of Home Improvement. He directed LA Law, Miss Congeniality 2, Jungle to Jungle, The George Lopez Show, Family Ties, and 30-something. So we've got a director who's sort of male-centric in a lot of his work.
Yes.
And so that kind of tracks a little bit in the way that it was directed. Like, it was sort of self-indulgent in, like, Tim Allen was doing a lot of things that his character did in Home Improvement. So it was just like, I don't know. I'm not sold on that. I don't think it's cool, but what are you going to do? And then we have the writers, who wrote the screenplay, are a duo named Leo Benevenuti, I believe is how you say his name, and then Steve Rudnick. They directed this movie along with the Santa Claus 2 and the Santa Claus 3. They also are not directed, they wrote all of those movies, and the Santa Clauses, which is the new show that's out, and they wrote Space Jam, among a couple of other things, not a ton. So this was kind of their world, and it wasn't a world that I was in love with necessarily. This entire team, like they sort of broed out a little bit with the storyline. In trying to do a sentimental story, they ended up doing a very male heavy story, if that makes sense. It didn't leave enough room for, I don't know, any female energy in it, if that makes sense.
Yes. I completely agree with you. And it was so funny whenever you were listing off all of the things that John Pasquin has done.
Yeah.
Because everything that you listed involved dysfunctional families. Every single thing that you listed involves a dysfunctional family, or like statements about women that aren't positive. So, John, the future is female, and you gotta get on this train.
I think his time has passed, but agreed. Not that he's dead, but maybe, I don't know.
Oh, I was about to say, is he dead?
No, I don't. I didn't mean that. Well, I don't know though, but let's not even look it up, because we're not a fan of John Pasquin.
We're not a fan. Yeah.
And then let's talk about the cast. It's not a huge cast. I mean, there was a lot of people in the movie, but like the main characters, there's only a handful. So we've got Tim Allen as Scott Calvin, who, like we said, is from Home Improvement and all the Toy Story movies. Eric Lloyd played the son, Charlie Calvin, who is basically only known for doing the Santa Claus friend. He's in a lot of other stuff, but minor characters. This is sort of his big thing, is doing all of the Santa Clauses. With Wendy Crewson as the mother, Laura. She was also the first lady, I believe, in Air Force One. She was in The Covenant and The Sixth Day, and she was in the movie Room. We have Judge Reinhold from the 80s, basically. He is a big 80s actor, playing Neil, the new stepfather, basically. He was in Beverly Hills Cop, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the movie Vice Versa. He was in Gremlins, so a lot of 80s and early 90s movies. And then we have David Krumholtz playing Bernard, who is sort of the main, the head elf, basically. Who was in Oppenheimer, Slums of Beverly Hills, The Newsroom, 10 Things I Hate About You, Life with Mikey, a lot of TV work, David Krumholtz. Yeah. You've seen his face out there somewhere, but usually in minor characters in movies. So, and that's really the main cast. And they did a pretty good job. I didn't dislike any of the actors in the movie, but I think that you and I are in agreement that we didn't necessarily love the characters themselves. In the movie.
For sure. Yeah, and it may be something intentional from the director to make a holiday movie where no one in the none of the characters are super likable.
That's interesting.
That could have been like on purpose. It's so funny whenever you're listing out like all of the things that Judge Reinhold has been in. I love 80s movies.
Yes.
And the minute that I saw him on screen, I was like, oh my gosh, his face looks so familiar. And it's
yes.
because he was in every single movie between like 1985 and 1990, I feel like. But
yeah.
And it was also so interesting revisiting this movie as an adult because I distinctly remember one of my very first childhood crushes that was a boy, like a moment in which I knew that I was different was I had a huge crush on Bernard as a child.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Which is strange. And whenever I was watching the movie as an adult, I was like, why was I so intrigued by Bernard? But anyways, my taste has changed, I guess, since I was 6 years old. But
fair.
A very interesting cast. Do we want to jump into some fun facts about the movie?
Let's talk about some fun facts about the movie.
Okay, so as you had shared earlier, Bill Murray was originally intended to play Scott, which I think would be really interesting to see Bill Murray do this movie. I was also trying to consider like some other really famous people in this time. And I thought about like, for some reason, Danny Glover popped up in my mind. I think Danny Glover would have been amazing too.
I would have loved that. He would have been great in that. Yeah. Yeah,
and I think he would have made it a lot more likable too. But anyhow, so this was a really interesting fun fact. On older releases of the film, Tim Allen made a sarcastic remark in the movie, which included the line 1-800-SPANK-ME. And during the film's release, a woman from near Cleveland, Ohio, called the supposedly fictional number for her curious grandchildren, and it turned out to be a phone sex line. However, it wasn't until 1997 when Disney received complaints from parents whose children called the number and racked up huge phone bills did the studio take action and cut the line for future releases. And Disney also said that they would purchase the phone number to disconnect the service.
So
that
funny.
is hilarious. And
so funny.
It's crazy to think that this movie, The Santa Claus, a holiday movie, probably brought about some conversations of the birds and the bees for the first time for a lot of families.
Yes.
There is a hidden Mickey in the moon when they fly the sleigh after leaving the North Pole. I guess I realized that, whenever I was watching it. And the Santa that falls off the roof in the beginning is played by Tim Allen's stunt double.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. So, overall, this movie is just such an interesting take. First of all, I love the fashion in this movie.
Oh my gosh.
I love 90s fashion. I love 90s architecture. So seeing like even just the like furniture in the houses and just like the special effects, it just made me so nostalgic for a good Universal Studios film, yes. But like outside of that, this is a movie, and I would be interested to hear from our listeners of like, does anybody watch this movie on a regular basis, or is this like a fan favorite for anyone? Because it really is interesting how kind of dark of a movie it is that then resulted in a franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't quite pinpoint how I actually feel about this movie because there were some elements that I really like. It was definitely a Christmas movie, right? Like it had all of the markings of a Christmas movie. I mean, it's called The Santa Claus for goodness sake, but it also had the terrible 90s comedy feel to it, which take it or leave it, I guess. Like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know that it worked necessarily in this movie, that 90s comedy. I wish it had a little bit more heart in it than it did. It was way too Tim Allen-y for me. And I keep saying that over and over again, but I don't know. It just that's everything I pulled out of it. I was like, ugh, I hate that he's delivering the line that way because he's a very self-indulgent actor, in my opinion, and it doesn't. Yeah,
for sure.
It just left me a bad taste in my mouth. I also didn't love it. Doesn't age well for quite a few reasons, and one of them is all of the body shaming they do for him when he starts to turn into Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And all of them in the office when they're ordering lunch, just like ordering salads with dressing on the side and then they shame him for ordering actual food. And it's like weird. How is that that's just a weird thing. You would never comment on someone's weight in the office, right?
No.
And they were very casual about like telling him that he was that they were like shocked and appalled by him when he started to get the Santa Claus figure, basically. So I didn't love that.
100%. I was like, where's HR? And I think I said that on the last episode when I reviewed Dumbo, but we need more HR presence. I don't know what the situation is, but between the secretary and him interrupting the black woman and then them body shaming him, I was like, all of y'all need to be put on a performance improvement plan.
100%.
Something else that I thought that was so interesting was kind of the discrediting of psychiatry in the movie and how
interesting. Yeah, I didn't catch that, but you're right.
You know, that basically like Scott kept sharing over and over again that Neil was not a real doctor. And that's not great. That's the only way to say that.
Yeah, you're right. And that sort of brings back, like, that was a thing in the 90s, kind of like, we don't seek mental health, we don't seek therapy because it means that you're crazy, for lack of a better word, or that there's something wrong with you if you need a therapist. Yeah, that's so interesting. I didn't think about that. And they do 100% discredit mental health and yeah, interesting. For the sake of wanting to believe in Santa Claus. It's like, you can have both. You can have both things. They can exist. Right. They're not incompatible with each other.
Yeah. We're like ripping this movie up and then watch this be one of our listeners' like favorite movie of all time.
I'm sure a lot of people really like it. It was a very successful movie. Yeah. And it still is. What are some things you did like about the movie? Let's go there.
Okay. So something that I was absolutely obsessed with as a kid and I still thought was so fun was the technology in this movie that like Santa's sleigh had cup holders for cocoa and instead of a CD player, it was a cookie dispenser, you know, like I thought that was so creative. And I also absolutely loved the elves that were like basically special forces. I thought that was hysterical. And so I think it was a really smart movie. And I do remember from my childhood that those were the two things that really stood out for me as a kid. So I find that interesting that I loved that too as an adult. I also really enjoyed that there is, you know, some redemption for all characters involved, you know, like that Scott is realizing that he has to be more present for his son. They're having more quality time together, that, you know, the mom and Neil realize that they need to let Charlie be a kid for a little bit longer. And I also really enjoyed the elf who makes cocoa and how she was talking about how it's harder for adults to believe in magic because it kind of just leaves them. And I really enjoyed that. And that might be the reason why people enjoy this movie so much, is that it is a good reminder that adulthood, you can't take, like, adulthood can take the inner child from you, and you can't let it. You always have to revisit your inner child. You always need to be healing your inner child. You always need to be celebrating your inner child and doing things to connect yourself back to them. And so I really enjoyed that piece of the movie for sure. Especially, I think Charlie's last line in the movie to Neil, Charlie said something like, "It's okay that you got down on my dad. You were, your inner child was hurt, or you were disconnected from your inner child," or something like that. And Neil said, "You're going to be a great psychiatrist one day." And I really enjoyed that piece of the movie. But
yeah, it did. It did have a good message in that. So it was a sweet movie, and that really connected it as definitely a holiday movie for sure. Yeah, I liked all those things too. Like the gadgetry behind it all was really cool. Actually, I was really impressed for 1994. All the special effects that they were doing, I was like, this is really good. And the prosthetics that they used for Tim Allen were really, really spot on and really great. The reindeer looked really cool and they were fun as well. The explanation of how you get into a house without a chimney on it. It was just all of that was really fun. Yeah, the inventiveness that happened with the special effects I thought were really well done. And the music and the score were very holiday as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I liked this movie, but it's not it's not in my holiday rotation every single year necessarily.
100%.
I wouldn't have watched it unless you and I were like, let's watch it and see what we think about it for this episode.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I will say, it just like, the other thing that I do love about this movie is that it just really did perfectly capture like early 90s pop culture.
Yeah, very much
and
that.
That's so fun. And I'm so glad that you said about the special effects, because it really did have some amazing special effects. And that's something that I would love to see in modern film. Is I think we rely a little bit too heavily on CGI. And I wish that they would bring back more practical effects in movies for sure.
Me too. It just has a nicer look to it, just a more realistic look to it, because it is not real, but it's, actually there instead of CGI enhanced for sure. Okay. I mean, there's just not a lot to dig into on this movie, which is interesting to me. And I think that's fine. Like, you and I talk a lot about, like, sometimes a movie can just be a movie and it doesn't have to have big social impacts behind it. And I think this is exactly that movie where it's a cutesy movie. You may like it, you may not like it, and that's okay. It kind of is what it is, in my opinion. What about you?
I completely agree with that. I think that this movie, and just like lots of movies in the 90s, were just movies to be movies, and you're just supposed to have some escapism and some fun. I say that after I just spent the past like 30 minutes ripping it apart. But I will say, it's a fun ride. But I completely agree. I would be really interested to hear from our listeners, because I also know that even though I didn't like this movie, it's a very divisive movie. Like, people either really, really love this movie or they don't like it at all. And so I'd be really interested to hear some like listener reaction on opinion and what people think about it.
100%. All right, well, let's get into our GDTD scorings behind this movie. So what would you give this on an inclusivity scale 1 to 5?
Inclusivity scale 1 to 5, I would give it a 2. I will say it depicted like black women in positions of power, like the principal at Charlie's school, and also Scott's coworker who was in corporate America. Slay, love that. There was no LGBTQIA people in this movie at all. And no other really diversity. Well, it also depicted all of those Asian people at the restaurant on Christmas Day because of, them not celebrating Christmas. I didn't love that either. So I'm going to leave it at about 2.
Didn't love it. Yeah, I think 2 is the right spot for that. I didn't love, I think women didn't have a great day in this movie.
No, they did not.
They were talked over a lot. They were pushed aside a lot. Even the one girl, Elf, was like the one in charge of making clothes. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that and making cocoa. So that didn't rub me the right way. So I would say maybe a 2, a 2 at best for inclusivity. What about on a queerness level? Does this have a place in queer history for you? What do you think?
No.
Except for Bernard for you, apparently, as a child. But
yeah, Bernard was one of my, it was like, Bernard was in my top 5 as a child. It was like, the kid from Home Alone 3 I had a crush on when I was a kid. The Rocky from Power Rangers, the Power Ranger movie. He was the Red Ranger. Yeah. And Bernard.
Bernard made the list. Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah. But I would say, if we're having like a gay picnic with all of our queer icons, this movie is not invited to the gay picnic.
No, this movie, when it comes to like queer representation, this movie is like the Buffalo Wild Wings of queer representation in movies. So I'm gonna say no.
This is the Hooters of gay movies.
Yes, right here.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it was just too. Not that masculinity doesn't have a place in our world and our vernacular, but the machismo behind it was not for me. It just was a little bit too broy for me sometimes. And Tim Allen, basically.
Yes.
Okay, so then overall, 1 through 5, what would you give this movie? Where does it sit for you?
I'm going to stick it right at about a 2. I love the nostalgia, but I wouldn't voluntarily watch it outside of for nostalgic purposes.
Yeah,
What
I
about
would.
you?
Yeah, same. I would say 2.5. I would maybe go up to 3 because it's a pretty solid movie. I would say like the elements were there. The acting was just fine. The writing was fine, and like the editing and like the look of the movie was. I mean, it was definitely. I didn't see any flubs in the movie necessarily, so it was a well done movie. It just wasn't. It's just not a movie for me necessarily, if that makes sense. So I give it a 2.5 is where I'll put it. So, yeah, super interested to hear what our Tweedles have to say. Reach out to us and let us know, what did you think of the Santa Claus? Is it a hit? Is it a miss? Is it a holiday always on rotation for you? Or have you ever even seen it? Maybe this is your first time even hearing about the Santa Claus. Who can say? Let us know. You can write into us on the socials at GDTD Podcast, or send us one of those voice memos or an email at info@gayswithad.com.
Love to see it.
Love to see it. You know what else hit me about this movie was there was a lot of like fart jokes in it too, and that was
There was a lot of farting.
so 90s, just like fart joke after fart joke. I was like, you guys, come on, smarten up a little bit. I don't know.
They were like, it's been quiet. We should add a fart.
100%. Yes, men are stupid, Ryan. Men are the worst.
Yes,
men in the 90s are terrible.
Terrible.
Insert fart joke.
All right, Patrick, it's time.
Time for what, Ryan?
It's time for some quick D and some jingle bells.
Yeah. Quick D and bells. I'm into it. Interested. Remind the folks at home what Quick D. We never do this anymore of telling people what Quick D is. We just assume that everyone knows.
Yeah. So Quick D basically is in which we have to come up with an answer to a question right on the spot without thinking. And usually the questions are somewhat Disney related. And we usually make some type of sensual innuendo as well during this segment. So if there are kids in the room, you may want to turn down or put in your AirPods during this segment.
It is not required, though. Just as
it's
a
not
heads
required.
up, but we don't.
Just as a heads up. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, Ryan, are you ready for some quick D questions from our listeners?
Let's do it. I'm ready. I want the quickest of Ds.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you should set your standards higher. All right, let's go with we're gonna 2 questions. One is from @PJW_@_WDW asking, which princess has the best Christmas dress? Interesting.
Oh, that's such a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go with Belle. That from what is it? The Enchanted Tales with Belle. I can't remember. That's the attraction. But the holiday version of Beauty and the Beast, she has a dress in there that it's like it's all things Christmas for me.
Are you talking about the pink one, the pink dress in the holiday special?
The pink dress, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I also going to agree with you there. Yeah, I'm sticking with that. You really knocked that one out the park.
Slayed it. Or, I mean, even in the original Beauty and the Beast, that big red cloak that she has. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Slay. I love it. It's giving Mugler.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So just Belle. Belle's the only one who's doing Christmas correct, right?
Mm-hmm. Or is it because she's in France, it's Yves Saint Laurent?
Oh, there it is. Look at you.
I don't know.
Look at you.
I don't be knowing all the things.
Well, you knew that. I love that. What do you think, PJW at WDW? What's your favorite holiday princess dress? I don't know a lot of the holiday ones, I guess. Belle's the only one that comes to mind, and that's why I answered that one. But
yeah, I was trying to think about it because the only time outside of Beauty and the Beast, I've only seen the holiday dresses a couple of times in the parks. Mm-hmm. So none really stick out to me quite like the Beauty and the Beast dress, but I am going to go with it. Do we have time for one more quick D question?
We sure do. We have a really fun one here. Okay, so
I'm ready.
Not that one wasn't fun, but this one is also fun. Yeah. We have at Traveling Theater Nerd asking, if all the GDTD hosts were Disney attraction hosts, which attraction would each work at? I love this question.
Oh, this is such a good question.
I'm obsessed with this question. Okay. Let's go down the list. What attraction is Kale a host at?
Kale, I'm going to say Kale is a host at Figment. Like something zany,
Figment.
Something off the wall.
There's no host at Figment, though.
Or wait, yeah, I thought you meant like the host of like people getting on the ride or...
Oh, I see. Like one of the ride attendants. I think it one of the like a skipper on the Jungle Cruise is what I was thinking for like attraction host. But listen, we can go out down anywhere we want to.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like JT would give good Jungle Cruise vibes.
Yes, JT, his humor is just so insanely quick that he would be an amazing skipper. So I'm definitely going to say Skipper JT. I think that Kale would have really amazing sarcastic commentary with children, and the children will not understand any of the jokes that he's making, but he will make every single parent's day. Yeah. And so I'm going to say that Kale is working at, I'm trying to think of attractions with host.
Yeah, that's true. You know where Kale would actually do really well? I feel like this isn't a host, but he would be a good in the Hoop-de-Doo review.
He would be amazing in Hoop-de-Doo review. Don't you think him perfectly? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would put him in that show. And I think it would be fantastic. So good job, Kale.
No, wait, hold on. Okay, so Kale Hoop-de-Doo review, and or Turtle Talk with Crush.
That would be super fun. I would. That'd be a fun show to do. Too.
Oh yeah, that would be so fun. That would be my dream. If I could do accents better, I'm terrible at all accents except for like my mom's Minnesotan accent. But if I could do accents, I would love to do Turtle Talk. Actually, Patrick, you would be amazing at Turtle Talk too.
Thank you so much. If Kale did Turtle Talk with Crush, he would just sort of crush people's dreams in it too, though. You know what I mean? Like he would read the audience as Crush. So
he would rip them apart, and it would be amazing.
Fired day one fired. Where would you want to work? What would you be a good host at? What do you think? Where would I put you to?
I think I have an answer, but I don't know if you would agree with this. I would love to be a bellhop at Tower of Terror.
I was just gonna say that I would put you there. Yes, or I would put you in the Haunted Mansion as well.
I would love either one of them because I think it would just be fun to scare people.
Yeah. 100% that. Yeah, you would be great at that. I would love that. Plus, you look good in red, I feel like, too.
Oh,
so you would look good as a bellhop.
Thank you. I do love a nice burgundy. Patrick, where do you feel like you would go?
Well, my dream is to be a host or one of the drivers on the safari in Animal Kingdom. I think that would be super fun.
You would be amazing at that.
Me? Thank you.
Yes. You would be amazing. I think I would also put you... I'm thinking about all of the different, like, entertainment offerings that they offer at Disney.
Or, I mean, dream job would be one of the race announcers on the Run Disney events. That would be...
Oh, that would be fun, too. I've never done it. I've
delicious.
yet to do a Run Disney event yet. I need to do one with you.
Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do a 5K or a 10K or a half, whatever your dream is at some point.
Oh, Patrick, you know what I would love for you to do if they ever replace like the alien that's in Tomorrowland Terrace? I would love for you. What's the alien's name? Wait, you're gonna hear me out. Hold on.
Oh my god,
the alien's name in the restaurant. Cosmic Ray.
In Cosmic Rays, yeah.
If I want to replace Cosmic Ray with you just sitting at a piano and just like running commentary to not you don't look like Cosmic Ray, but just I think you would be hilarious to like
that would be
just
that would be so fun. That would actually be a really good JT job as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh, JT would rip
just sitting at a piano, and singing songs and just like chatting with the audience. Yeah. It would be like a very a Judy Garland holiday special at all times.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with that.
Alrighty, y'all, that will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us to continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook and Instagram at GDTD Podcasts. Also, submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everyone, and see you real soon. It's been quiet. We should add a fart.